Hey, hello and welcome. This is the Ascension Football Show. I'm Joel Villafano. Secondary schools football, schoolboy football has gotten many a sport fan, a football fan here in Trinidad and Tobago excited for many, many years. It is arguably the best league in the country and the most successful at that. Now, there's new leadership at the helm. There's a new president in town, and he is here. Mariri Louis Gonzalez is in the building. Here's what's coming up on the Ascension Show.
Who was in my corner that will back me 100%. Since I played football since I 8 years, why I going back in football?
Right, straight to our big story. So we're focusing on secondary schools football today. Yes, Mariri Louis Gonzalez, a former referee, has taken over secondary schools football. Mr. Gonzalez is no stranger to football. He was the chairman of the secondary schools East Zone. He was a former teacher, I think at Mount Hope Secondary, a former assistant referee at a very high level. He participated at the 1998 World Cup, the Gold Cup, as well as he refereed at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in 1997. So with all that experience under his belt, Mr. Gonzalez seems ready to take on this new challenge. Secondary schools football president, Mr. Mariri Gonzalez. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joel Villafano.
I cover all your titles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I feel I leave out something.
There are many other
areas, I felt like I left out some.
We will take that for
But the truth is that you have footballing experience under your belt. You've been involved in football at different levels, different parts of football, refereeing, schools football. But I must ask, why? Why the decision to run for this particular office?
Simply because of the fact that 30 years plus in the business of the football at various levels, local, regional, and international, and within the SSFL in particular since 1988, serving in various capacities, position that is, assistant secretary, vice chairman, now presently chairman of the East Zone for the last 10 going into 12 years, also serving at the national level as a member of the disciplinary committee, also one of the March commissioners at the Premiership Division, also being a former member of the Appeals Committee, presently chairman of the East Zone Disciplinary Committee. And for the wealth of experience, knowledge, and expertise that I have, I felt I am in the best position to share this experience with the SSFL by and large, so that more importantly, as a teacher in particular, physical education to be precise, that the student athletes, and I refer to it, the student athletes, not athlete students, there's a difference. The student athletes be afforded the opportunity to continue to pursue their dreams, their goals, their aspiration based on the efforts of us, the members of the SSFL. And that is why in particular, I felt it necessary to put myself in position to assume leadership of the SSFL.
Yeah. No, I know I kind of outlined the titles and some of the experiences that you've had over your career in football. But for those watching and may not be aware, in the younger generation, in a nutshell, just tell me, who is Mariri Louis Gonzalez?
In a nutshell.
Give me the nutshell version.
Got into teaching in 1981 after Valentine Teachers College. Was in a predicament to choose as an elective among three very important aspects of my life: music, which I'm a renowned musician and performer, also psychology and physical education. So I saw it fit that with physical education, I could encompass the other two, plus if you look at the subject of physical education, it actually encompasses all the other subject areas. So out of that, and then getting the love for sports generally, a wide variety of sports, but being more known in the football circle, with refereeing, etc., which I started in 1988 and moved from there. Thank God for it. Uh, Being able to travel throughout the length and breadth of the globe, all 6 continents, and gathering a lot of experiences, moving from an active match official into an instructor, FIFA fitness instructor, FIFA technical instructor, also instructor in futsal in the CONCACAF region, and working within the circle of the CFU, CONCACAF, and FIFA. Also working locally here with the referees uh, as an instructor, as an assessor, as a match commissioner, and being involved in other sporting disciplines, like being one of the sports commentator for the entries, being the technical director of the Concept Coaching Academy, but all realizing that my focus primarily is on football because that is my first love, with all due respect to the other sporting discipline, and even being presently the secretary of the secondary school basketball East Zone. But as I said, in particular, football remains, and it is, and it continues to be my main focus, and that is why I'm now at the helm, and thanks to the membership for bestowing that confidence in me, being the president of the SSFL.
So I suppose, I mean, one of the first questions the critics may raise
Mhm.
is, why is a referee, a former referee, coming to run secondary schools football? How do you respond to that?
Simply because of the fact, as a referee, we have to manage the players, not so? Yeah. So it's about man management.
Right, right.
And therefore, if you could manage the human personnel on the field as well as off the field, then there is an easy transferring of it, moving into another area where you're expected to also manage persons, in this case the SSFL, administratively. In addition to the fact that as a person moving off the field of play, even though I still currently officiate, especially the lower division of the SSFL, to ensure that the authenticity, the interpretation, and the application of the laws of the game are properly well done so that the younger ones will understand the correct procedure of it. But returning to the fact of understanding your role as a referee and why the presidency, there are similarities. And even as an assessor, as an match commissioner too, you have to write reports, you have to be able to communicate to the match officials before, during, and after the game, as far as feedback is concerned. So, in itself, having that as a very solid background and a foundation, it was just obvious that assuming the role of presidency will only enhance and be a major contributor in advancing the cause of the SSFL.
Outside of man managing players and man managing situations as a referee, what does Mary Gonzalez bring to the table as president of the SSFL?
I bring the experience, I bring the knowledge, I bring the expertise as far as understanding how football locally, regionally, and internationally have been executed over the years, primarily in particular where we may have present scenario in our country where the image of the football is not of the best, as we all know, that which has taken place quite recently. And therefore that level of calm, that level of composure, the importance of knowing to be very well articulate, to have that level of integrity, that level of transparency, that level of accountability, which are areas that are critically important if we want to gain the confidence of the persons who are followers of the game. And therefore, to be able to manage in a very transparent way so that persons can see and as well as reap the rewards of the benefits of your exercise and your efforts in moving in that direction, which is to give people what they want based on all that has been done because they are quite deserving of it. We have the fans, supporters are one of the main entities of football. And therefore, one has to respect the role that they play. And we need to also understand we need to give them what they rightfully deserve, the best.
Murray, would you agree with me that the product that is TNT's football is almost at ground zero, needing a rebuild? You agree with me?
Yes, I would
You would
agree
agree
with
with
you,
me?
yes, yes.
So my question is, what role, as president of the SSFL now, what role do you see the SSFL playing, the Secondary Schools Football League, which is, as I said, a league that has been well respected here in Trinidad and Tobago for many, many years? What role do you see the SSFL playing in restoring the brand, the confidence that is Trinidad and Tobago's football?
First and foremost, we need to understand that in any country and in any sporting discipline, we must have a philosophy. Do we have a philosophy at this point in time? Is one of the main concerns. From the philosophy will generate policies. From the policies will generate objectives, short, medium, and long term. The SSFL, which I am extremely proud to be the president of, and I want to take the opportunity now to acknowledge the marvelous work that have been done by all the previous executive members, the past presidents and secretaries, etc. As a matter of fact, I'm the 13th president, starting from the first one, which is Dr. Ray Dolly in 1964, and the first secretary being Father Fafan, again in 1964. Now we are in 2021, and the question is being asked, what can the SSFL do to ensure that we revamp the image of football that is at a rather low level, and we, as a body, know that we are rather professional in our approach. We have that level of responsibility to ensure that we work harmoniously with the governing body, the TTFA, which collectively is supposed to be the case with all various stakeholders, and see how feasible it is, and it is very feasible, to put the structure in place to regain the confidence of the public, to ensure that the administrative arm of football is well organized, well executed, so that when the players go onto the field of play, their main concern will be to play football. And there wouldn't be other administrative areas or other logistical constraints that they may have to be disturbed or perturbed about. And therefore, the SSFL, by extension, and I want to make this one categorically clear, as a main entity of our employer, which is the Ministry of Education, we are guided by the guidelines and the directive of the MOE. And that is why I have referred to the term student athletes, because our primary concern is about student education first, and students that happen to be part of the sporting disciplines within the school, in this case football, and they become athletes. We are supposed to also encourage and promote education, and that's why one of the main areas is that of assisting the student athletes, those who are desirous of doing it, to accomplish, to achieve one of their main dreams by acquiring football scholarships, either with local, regional, or international community colleges or universities. Now, if we look at the opposite part of which, and you refer to them now as an athlete student, it means that the focus will be on athletes first and student thereafter. So I think the society and the whole has to understand that one of the main objectives from our 3 objectives in the Constitution that states that we are primarily there to provide a platform for our student athletes to be able to play with sport, football, which we are very fortunate to be a part of the most popular single sporting game in the world, which is football, outside of the multi-discipline, which is Olympics. So, having said that, we also, in the objective, has to understand one of the objectives is that the holistic approach to the educational aspect of the student. We would like to continue to work along with all the various stakeholders. This is another about the SSFL wanting to be in any competitive mode. We want to be a contributor. We would like to be a facilitator. And more importantly, for the youths of the nation to have a platform by which we could assist them in achieving their goals, their dreams, and their aspirations.
I haven't seen you in a long time, right? But to do my favor, I ain't asking for a favor in a long time. Do my favor. I'm putting a question, and I want you to answer because I understand everything you would have said, but I just want you to underline and answer that question in one sentence for me. What can the SSFL bring to help the outlook and the product that is now trying to make us football in terms of how the public now views it? The public now says, well, football is a bacchanal, football dead in this country. What can, in one sentence, what can the SSFL do to contribute to rebuilding that confidence in the football fan in TNT? One sentence.
Show the public that there is quality footballers out there, and the product football is a main entity by which persons could pursue their dreams, their goals, and their aspiration, and even get a career out of it, as we know so many professional footballers are living off of it. And that is what we would like the public to understand that we are bringing to the table to assist these players with.
We're going to get to that pathway that you're talking about in a little deeper in a little bit. But I want to just piggyback on a couple of things you would have said there, and as we dig deeper into your role as the president, Mary. Relationship with the TTFF. I mean, right now we are in a little limbo in football where we do not have an actual administration running. There's the normalization committee in charge and so on. What role and how do you see your relationship with the TTFF? Because I don't think you can get anything accomplished without that kind of synonymous relationship. Do you see any issues where that is concerned?
Right now, there are 16 stakeholders within the TTFA, of which the SSFL is one of them. We understand as an entity, it's like a building that is made up of bricks. It's like a sentence that is made up of words. The sentence is not complete unless you have the words. Inside of the words, you have punctuation marks that bring even greater meaning to the sentence. The bricks are part of the building. The SSFL, by extension, is part of the entire football fraternity of the country. It means, therefore, in moving forward, there should be that level of mutual respect that each one brings to the table.
That's unfortunately not always the case. And I'm not, am I saying anything wrong there, Mary? That is not always the case. The reality, as nice as that sounds, is not always the case. The TTFF president might say, look, Mary, I ain't on time for secondary school football right now in the train at Tobago, lost in on the field of play, and that might just be.
And therefore, that is why I said earlier, what is our philosophy for football? What is our policy? What is our main objectives, short, medium, and long term? And as far as having the constitution in place, if these are things that we are supposed to be guided by, then therefore personalities, which interestingly are the very same individuals with the personalities, have to bring forward the issues. And therefore, it's like the sin and the sinner. We need to understand, is the sinner committing the sin? But we still need to love the sinner in spite of the sin. So sometimes it's very difficult to separate between the person who is presenting the issue and the personality. But I think there is where a level of maturity comes in place. And emotional intelligence, which is understanding, while I may beg to differ, after agree to disagree at some point in time. So in order to move it forward, we have to understand that we may not always agree. But there is something called collective responsibility. If we understand down the road, this is what we want to achieve, then personalities ought not to interfere with the progress that we need. And therefore, all the entities, when coming into office, must understand what is our main role. Our main role ought to be servants of the game. We are here to serve. And as long as we understand the authenticity of the word servant, to serve, then we would realize, hey, who are we serving? We are serving the game of football. Who are the beneficiaries? The players. Because without the players, we don't have a game. And therefore, I think primarily we have to focus on that and understand this is what we are about. And we can do it. But we just need to understand and know in doing it, we have personalities, but what is more important is dealing with the issues on the table so that we could move forward.
You're sounding good.
Thank you.
You're sounding good. Yeah, you're sounding good. Just with the record, you're sounding good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll monitor what happens over the next couple of years, but you're sounding good. On a scale of 1 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
I listened to you and I've been listening to you, and you praised the former administration
Of the SSFL?
of the SSFL. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is the state of secondary schools football as we know it? Let's go back pre-pandemic. What's the state of secondary schools football as you see it?
On a scale of 0 to 10?
0 to 10.
7.5.
You're really happy with the administration?
7.5.
7.5. So
But you know, I'll explain why 7.5.
mm-hmm. And I want to know why the 0.5.
That's correct.
You get specific there on your rating. Yeah.
I'll explain why.
Yeah.
In refereeing, there's an assessor's form
Oh gosh, you get
to match the assess the referees.
I forget you're an assessor too. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
And therefore, the specificity of the performance of the overall aspect of the referees is what you grade them on.
Right.
Right?
And
then you have
this one on the park, boy.
Yeah, you have good, you have good, better, and the best.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You have the optimum, which is 10, which is extremely difficult to be able to achieve, because if you reach 10, it means that you have nowhere else to go. And I think we should never reach that comfort, that zone, otherwise there'll be complacency, etc. So I say 7.5 because it's good. What we have now within the SSFL is good. We could always work on it to become very good and then excellent. All right? It is good in the sense of being one that the commercialization of it, where you have sponsors that are gaining more confidence in it, are coming on board more and more. Years before, we would not have had sponsorship in the championship division. We had no premiership division. Then eventually we got sponsorship for the championship. Then we created a premiership. We got even bigger sponsorship for that. We had no sponsorship for the lower division for 2019, which was our last season, unfortunately because of the COVID-19 or 2020 season. We had sponsorship for all the division. Now what does that say? That shows progress. It says that somewhere along the line that the sponsors, which we will want to more interpret and bring them on board as partners. Because with partners, they identify with you even more. They stay longer with you. A sponsor may come on and may contribute a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year contract. We would like to have partners on board. And working along with that and understanding that we have situations within the league where even the girls' football are being promoted even more. And as a matter of fact, greater emphasis is going to be placed on it moving into 2021. We were supposed to have had a Premier Division in the girls for the first time in 2020, but we all know why. So that's why I said 7.5, which is good. And the work done by the previous administrators need to be commended, because if they didn't do what they had done, then like going up a ladder, we could not reach that maybe 19 wrong unless those 18 would have built the foundation.
All right. So fair enough, understood. Give me the biggest problem that you think you're facing that needs fixing as far as the SSFL is concerned.
I would say at this point in time, possibly maybe the use of the website
Technology?
The technology, but within my manifesto in the election, I would have had that. Just yesterday, we had an executive meeting, and we spoke about that. The first vice president, in the case of Mr. Isel Sicharan, he's also a member of the website committee, and we are generating interest in embracing technology because we are living in the world of technology. And who is more savvy with technology? The youths. Good. And the very same youths are engaged in the football. So how do we make it a plus for us as the SSFL? By incorporating their knowledge, their expertise with us. So that, for example, Twitter, Facebook, the WhatsApp and Instagram,
Twitch,
there's so many out there.
Yeah, a couple of them well out there now. Yeah.
That at any given time, whoever fancy whichever social media platform, they could surf it and get current information on what is happening within the SSFL, even as current at 2021. The online registration is something that we have having some teething problems over the years, but I know we will rectify that in the not too distant future.
Before we take the first break, Mary, I want to do one thing from you because you said a lot so far.
Yes.
Outline your first three priorities. Because as I said, you've been here, there, and everywhere in terms of, and I've been out, we've been dealing with all the issues. But you said you met with the executive.
Yeah, the officers met
right
1 week ago, and the national executive met yesterday.
Nice.
On Zoom.
In your mind, the first three priorities that you must deal with in your office?
I think the world at large understand the first one I'm going to say, which is the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right. Which we'll talk about after the break, but no problem.
So that is our first, or my first priority with the executive.
Obviously, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to have a season. We will plan as though that there is going to be a season in September. Realistically, we have to understand that there may not be one, based on if the issue of the COVID-19 increases and restriction also increases. Yes. The second one is to work and get the various stakeholders within the country of Trinidad and Tobago back on board so we can regain the confidence of the population as far as football is concerned. And the third aspect is to be able to provide a well-structured platform so that rather than have various different entities, individuals and or agents that are responsible for the platform to be created for students to get or to acquire sporting scholarships, that the SSFL in itself will create that platform, be held with the responsibility of providing the guidelines so that even before the player reaches or attain that Form 5 level, even coming into the secondary school system, data, analytical, scientific information is already gathered on them, read the website and other data collecting areas that we will have, so that in moving forward, the players could now rely on the SSFL, trustworthy as we are, to give them current, correct, and accurate information on how they could pursue the authenticity of scholarships and be comfortable knowing fully well that all they need to do is fulfill the necessary requirements, and they have options outside there by which to pursue colleges and or universities.
There's a new man at the helm of the SSFL. He is Mariri Gonzalez, and he is here with us. We're coming back. When we come back, we dig deeper into secondary schools football. The pandemic is obviously affecting that. And then we look at the role the SSFL plays when it comes to development of our footballers. Come on back.
Pest control is a pain, but you don't have to go it alone. If you're a business that needs someone who will fix your problems point blank, go with the brand that's tested. Go with Terminix. Born almost a century ago in Memphis, Tennessee, Terminix International's mission has been to spread its innovations across the world through its integrated pest and termite management system, reducing the infestation of pests and vermin. Our Trinidad franchise neutralizes the threat of tropical insects and ensures that companies, from food production to hospitality, protect their investment and get the maximum value from our relationship. And we've been doing it well for over 20 years. Termites and pests are relentless, but they're no match for Terminix. Contact us today for a free consultation and quote, and let's introduce you to convenience. Protect your premises today. Choose a service provider that persists. Talk to Terminix.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh, we wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension! 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 We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages, from our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. Boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634-1653. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat. Amante Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, Mac in Cuba. Amanzi Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
All right, we're back. The Ascension Football Show continues. We continue to cover all aspects of football here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have the newly elected president of the Secondary Schools Football Association, Mr. Mariri Gonzalez. I've known him for quite a number of years. He has been an esteemed referee, assistant referee. He's been a commentator and involved in football and sport here in Trinidad and Tobago for 30 years. So he's just about 70 now. He's just turning 70. He's an old man we put in the role of president. Marie, I think confidence is needed.
Yes.
In all areas of football, and so far you've spoken confidently.
Yeah.
It is what I expected of you because I know you as an individual.
Yeah.
But I know there are issues. One of the issues, before we get to the pandemic and what is before us where the football is concerned, one of the issues in secondary school football has been players, young men especially, getting into schools and playing school football and they're overaged. Is that still a problem? I remember hearing that, as I said, in years gone by, and I think it was continuing. I don't know if it was seriously dealt with, if it was tabled. Is that still a problem that you think you need to address going forward?
No, it is not a problem.
No longer a problem?
No longer a problem. And I will say why it is no longer a problem. Possibly in the past it may have occurred, but we have put in place a credentials committee. And the credentials committee will be and continue to work closely in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, so that all the necessary information on the player, right, even prior to entering into the SSFL as a league, and even doing investigation as to know if they're involved in other leagues, and look at necessary documents pertaining to their age, etc., like that. So the Credentials Committee is on top of its work, and we have been in operation for the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm sure moving in that direction, it will be extremely difficult for that problem to reoccur.
If it does, if it does, and it is found out that a school has bended the laws and snuck a player under the carpet and have him playing, what is in place? And
well, we have a constitution by which we adhere to, even though we will be having sometime during this year constitutional reform, because like in everything else, everything is not cast in stone, and a constitution itself it's an ongoing process, and you have to tweak it if and where necessary. As long as you see there are areas of ambiguity, you need to bring clarity to the situation. So we are guided by the constitution, and therefore we know fully well that in the breaching of any aspect within the SSFL, we have a disciplinary committee that functions quite well, and outside of that, even the appeals committee or even the arbitration, as the case might be. So we will continue as we have been doing over the last years in the past, prior to competition, prior to the start of the league, I should say more precisely, that guidelines, rules and regulations are forwarded to all and sundry, which I say all zones, of which the membership in its entirety will be able to have the opportunity to peruse, so that they have no reason. For example, I refer again back to refereeing, right? A player who comes onto the field of play with jewelry, right, will be cautioned. Why? Because even before coming onto the field of play, he would have been advised. He knows already no jewelry is permitted. So if after you have been checked in the tunnel to enter in the field of play and you're seen with jewelry on the field, the referee is within his right to caution you, because the law, he's guided by the law.
That's a yellow card offense?
Yes, it is.
Sure.
Yeah, initially...
They can't play football in a ring?
No jewelry.
No jewelry at all.
Jewelry whatsoever. What would have happened initially is that you would have exercised the spirit of the law, which means that if you had seen him with it or her with it, you'd have sent them off to remove it. But prevention is better, or being proactive is better than being reactive. So you want to save time by having to deal with that. So you advise them, you caution them, you warn them, you remind them before, listen, no jewelry whatsoever. So again, we return to the SSFL, and it's about adhering to the rules and regulations. Otherwise, there are penalties that will be in place for breaching them.
Not to stray too much, but if my player was a yellow card for wearing a ring or a chain, I'm selling him.
You're selling them.
Selling him. Yeah. Come on, man. Get yellow card for wearing. No. Come on. We living in a different world now.
Yes.
And the reality, like football everywhere else, the secondary school football league will also face the difficulty that is the pandemic. The league supposed to start in the new school term, September. Is that still scheduled? Where are you now in terms of even trying to assess what to do and how to do it?
I listened to the president of the Rugby Association of Trinidad and Tobago quite recently on television. He indicated categorically clear that just forget about Trinidad and Tobago being part of the World Cup in 2023. That is 2 years away from now. And already the Rugby Association has made such a decision. And that's their decision. I would want to believe that as part of the SSFL, we need to be optimistic. As a people, we need to be optimistic. We need to plan. I mean, let's go back to the 5 Ps. Proper preparation or planning prevents poor performance. So if we plan properly, then we will most likely perform well. So it means that if we plan, we don't make one plan. We plan with various plans, so in case A doesn't work out, we have B and C. So we will plan with the expectation to have a season in September, as we would have done over the years. But we know realistically what is happening now in the world and in Trinidad and Tobago, where the numbers are increasing.
The uncertainty is real.
The uncertainty is real, certainly. So obviously, we will need to take that into consideration. We need to meet with the sponsors, which is a very main stakeholder in this. We need to meet with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Security.
Is that you're outlining what you will be doing in the coming months?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
And also with the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. Because when you look at these various ministries, especially the MOE, which is the Ministry of Education, which we are basically main entity with, we must be on board. We must share our dreams, our plans, our vision with them, and certainly working along with them as to be guided by them even before we meet the membership. So that at least when we meet the membership, we are going with something solid. Having said that, if we don't have a season starting in September,
unfortunately, football can't play virtually.
Yes. Can we therefore have...
Because everything being done virtually now, but football can't play virtually.
Can we have, if the possibility, because the results of the CSEC and CAPE will most likely be released in September of 2021, which is important information, especially to the student athletes. Right. Can we therefore, if unable to start something workable in September, and things were to change to our favor by having something to start in October, a truncated season, which means a smaller scale, but since something of quality is done for the student athletes. Why? Why the championship and why the Premier Division? These are the ones that we are focusing on, and those are the ones in particular, with all due respect to the lower division, who will be knocking on the door for opportunities to pursue scholarships. So if we can assist them by providing that activity, a truncated tournament for them to be engaged in, it will add to their advantage on their resume when they're seeking scholarships. We will also be enhancing and outlining and promoting one of our objectives, which is to pursue and assist the athletes by their educational arm, and in this case, through scholarships for them. Now, not taking away anything from the lower divisions, which I think we'll have to understand. Can we, if it is possible, and then we talk about embracing the technology, therefore have the use of the virtual means to have a challenge skill competition.
Among the schools?
Among the schools, within the zones first, maybe having qualifications, and then the maybe the overall winner or the top 3 move on to the national finals on virtual means. And we're talking about skills in football, and there are various skills: kicking, trapping, dribbling, etc., etc.
And this will be just to keep the students
And to keep
engaged.
them engaged, because what you don't want is this, Joel. We don't want to lose persons who are already involved in football. We don't want to lose their desire, their interest. We don't want them to become disenchanted, all right? So we want to keep them engaged. And as a matter of fact, by even doing that, because they're already tech savvy, you may have even more students wanting to get involved in it. Is it also possible that, providing all the conditions are put in place and we adhere to them, which we would, could we possibly maybe look at having a smaller version of the game, even if it's an indoor, a semblance of maybe futsal? We just asking. We're looking, because we're looking at the possibilities, the various avenues. So we can do something, because football, as you know, is right now engaged with some of the top clubs, as you know, in the world. Right now, football is taking place, but it's being played, and it's because all the necessary conditions are being adhered to. They are being managed and put in place. We can therefore say, as a people in Trinidad and Tobago, so that the sporting industry will not be affected, and in particular the youths of the nation will be given a continued platform to engage in an activity that is positive, uplifting, refreshing, and beneficial to them.
So you're making plan A, B,
And
C,
yes.
D,
Correct.
E. Yeah, about 5 plans.
And it's up now to the membership, which will go to the General Council to discuss it and deliberate on it and agree on it.
Yes or no question.
Yeah.
Is football still the number 1 sport in the school system?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, answer that without fear of...
Yeah, because remember, as a physical educator, I'm involved in many other sporting disciplines. And based on what I would have seen over the years, there are some others that are doing quite well, I would admit, but football still remains, by and large, and for example, let me be more specific now. In the period where football is being played, that's September to November, December, we have other sporting disciplines that are also engaged in their activities. Badminton, volleyball, netball, swimming, but football happened to be the same time. Let's now throw our minds back based on what happened during that time, that period. Football takes more of the spotlight. All right, so
I ain't debating you. I ain't debating you. But what that led to is the importance now of coaching. And we're getting into development a little bit, because I don't want us to run out of time, and I wanted to talk development. The standard of coaching where secondary schools football teams are concerned.
Yes.
Is that a problematic issue in your mind, or do you think the coaches are adequately qualified to handle the student athletes?
It is said that learning doesn't take place until proper teaching has been executed.
Sound like a teacher there, boy. Go ahead. You sound like a lecturer there.
So therefore, let's go to the area of coaching and playing. Proper playing wouldn't take place unless you have proper coaching. The SSFL has been mindful of that and continues to be very cognizant of it. In the years gone by, we would have had coaches on board. We have found it necessary, however, to ensure that all coaches assigned or attached to any of the schools within the ambit of Trinidad and Tobago are now certified and qualified coaches.
That has already happened?
That's correct. As of now, 2021 and even before.
Okay.
So now these coaches have to be able to provide, I believe it's 3, yes, certificates, a CSEC, which we accommodate the maths and the English. We indicated that if the person was a coach with 55 years and beyond or older, that a concession will be given for that individual, because they're 55 years and that wealth and years of experience. So bringing into being where they are certified now, and where they also have to have certification within coaching, the coaching aspect. And we would have done about 2 or 3 years ago, we'd have done another coaching course led by Anton Cornell to upgrade the level of coaching within the SSFL. And we are seeing the benefits of it. But we are not going to get complacent. We need to have another, we need to have continuation of the upgrading of the coach's ability to coach. But I would also say in the same breath that within the technical support crew that is there for the players, we have other significant parties. There are administrators, managers of team, trainers, physios, etc. So the understanding in moving forward is if we're going to have qualification and certification for coaches,
Right, the
we
entire
need to
technical
also
stuff.
understand that we should also request or have the need to have certification for those
The
other
entire
areas.
technical stuff.
So
Excellent.
it is actually understanding that while we may not be totally professional as an entity in an amateur environment,
Yeah,
we need to start acting in a professional way.
got you. Development. I was part of a major debate a few years ago where secondary schools football was put under the microscope. I don't know if you recall
Yes.
that. And there were major footballing pundits, local footballing pundits, calling for the secondary schools football league to be squashed.
Yeah.
It's not helping with the development of the young player, and it went on and on and on.
Yeah.
This is a 3-month league. As I said, it's probably one of the most successful, entertaining leagues in the country over the years. But it's young players focused on competition, winning, because that's what secondary school football is about.
Yeah.
Competition, winning. Are our young players, in your mind, you've been involved in the secondary school system, Mr. Gonzalez, are our players being nurtured and developed in this league sufficiently to take them and prepare them for the next level?
At this present moment, based on the philosophy of the MOE working in conjunction, or the other way around, the SSFL working with the MOE, remember we are following the policies of the MOE.
The Ministry of Education.
The Ministry of Education,
Yeah, okay.
thank you, the Ministry of Education. So our first priority is to ensure that we assist with the educational aspect of the students. But as we know, as you quite rightly have has identified, we have a competition. Prior to the competition, we will have the coaches going through multitude of training sessions with their players. The question then therefore begs, you get a player at level 5. If after 2-3 months of training, I would want to believe that there will be some level of improvement, so that there is also development taking place there. As it is right now, because of the constraints of the 3-month period that we have, to complete a competition within that time frame, of which you have 116 schools registered, of which you have Form 1. You also have the girls under 15, boys under 14, under 16. You have the senior division, boys and girls. You have a championship division. You also have a premiership division. You have also the school of thought where some persons feel that they're playing too few games. But then you also have those who feel that they're playing too many games, and that is understandable in the sense of a coach playing on Wednesday and wondering when he will get a chance or she will get a chance to have assessment or evaluation session with their players before playing their next game on Saturday. But then you have a tight schedule by which to complete a season. You also have to be working along with sponsors, etc., who, as we will understand, need you and want their pound of flesh.
I don't want you straight from development, do you?
Yeah, we come in just...
You're coming to, all right, okay.
And therefore, we have to understand that within the SSFL, there is a percentage of development. The percentage, however, is at the lower level. So there is about maybe out of a scale of 0 to 10, there may be about a 3.
So safe to say that development is not the most important aspect of secondary schools football. Am I safe to say that?
As it is right now, it is not.
It is not.
It is not the main aspect of the SSFL.
So I want to
but it is one that is also considered
right.
because of the nature of our SSFL
Yeah.
with the Ministry of Education.
This may seem like an obvious question because I'm the president of the association now, but were you in agreement with scrapping the secondary school football league at all?
Never.
Never, right. I just want to make sure we get that clear.
Never.
But so I'm connecting the importance of development. These are players sometimes, and I mean, when you hear football pundits or coaches internationally at the ages 13, 14, 15, 16, that's the age when a footballer can make or break in terms of his development and make it, as they say. That's when our young players are focused on playing for their schools and winning and scoring goals and becoming a secondary school's big player. Are we ignoring that period of development for these young boys and young girls?
No, we are not ignoring it. We are working within a system where we have some constraints and serious challenges, and we're trying to provide a platform that could still be affordable for the athletes to achieve their goals. If we look at the learning curve, and I talk about even the physical aspect and the development of the players, in that 5 to 7 age category they're dealing with coordination. Right? From 7 up to about 12 years, they're dealing with the cognitive aspect of the overall player moving up physically. Then between that 12 to 17, 18, you're dealing with the development, as you mentioned. And then from 16, 17 years upwards, you're dealing with competition. That's how it is analytically, scientifically, and systematically. And we recognize that we also need to work with assisting with the development. But we supposed, and that is why earlier on we spoke about having that good relationship which is necessary with the national body, the TTFA, who is primarily responsible for programs that are supposed to be put in place to assist with youth development, of which the SSFL will be an arm of. So in a vacuum that is existing now as it is, the society will now therefore have no choice than to look at the SSFL as the main contributor of development football in the country. And we don't give them wrong for maybe perceiving it that way, but that's how it's being perceived. Is it correct is our next question.
That's not necessarily so. That's not necessarily
and
so?
And it is not necessarily so, because the fact of the matter is, we are supposed to have programs in place by the governing body, and with all due respect, they have been making a concerted effort over the years, but we want to be consistent, right? And that is why even if we throw our minds back to the time of the Russell Latapy, the Dwight York, etc., Stern John, when you look at them, they would have been playing together under 8, under 10, under 12, moving up through the ranks. So there was a systematic program in place. Now we have attempts made with an elite program for these athletes. We want to ensure in doing it within the calendar that it doesn't clash or interrupt them from taking part in esteemed activity, in this case the SSFL, of which we showcase and provide that platform for the students to play, student athletes, in that September, December period.
Let me jump to the girls, because I don't want to leave with us talking about the girls.
Please.
They've been treated like the little bad sister. Is that changing?
Yes, it is. It is changing simply because of the fact. Let's look at it. Slowly but surely. Maybe 30, 25, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe it would have been unheard of having girls games and more so even finals being played in our national stadium. Now they're being played there. And they are rightfully deserved to be played there, especially when it reaches the final. So it's taking place now. Also, we have the expected establishing and the creation of the Premier Division of the girls. Now, what does that say? It means we are moving in the right direction. We have the under 15 girls, we have the senior division in the girls under 20, we have the championship girls, and now we're looking forward to have the Premier Division girls. One of the other aspect I would think that we would look at also is maybe having a lower division for the girls, just like you have the Form 1 boys and the under 14 boys. If you also look at it, Joel, it is said globally, and stemming out of FIFA in particular, the governing body for football, that the future of football is feminine. Now, if you look at it as of now, 2021, all female tournaments are being officiated now by females only. 15, 20 years ago, it would have been male involved in it. So we have an increase in female officials who are now handling their tournaments. But even more, Joel, look what has happened. In this 2021, even as current as the CONCACAF Gold Cup and World Cup qualifiers are taking place in our region, FIFA has indicated categorically clear that as long as a female is fulfilling the criteria of that of a male to be considered to officiate in a man's match or a male match, then they're going to be considered. So right now, male games are being officiated now officially by females. So that is why we focus on greater emphasis. Now, there was emphasis on them, but greater emphasis on the girls because they need to be given the opportunities too. Now, also too, on a scale of 0 to 10, the USA in particular, which is #1 women's team in the world, the universities and colleges abroad are providing football scholarship for the females. And right now, because most of our females are Form 3 and Form 4, they're looking maybe for those who are already on the verge of sitting the CSEC or the CAPE to be considered. So there's a mushrooming in the embryonic stages of these players, and we have, as a SSFL, being a responsible body to provide that platform for them to continue to move forward in supporting them.
So much to discuss. As I said, can't get everything in one session.
Yeah, sure.
But at the end of your term, you serve for how many years?
2 years.
You serve for 2
one
years.
term, yeah.
At the end of your term, what would you consider a successful term to look like?
One, to be able to lift even the image and level of the SSFL, bringing even more esteemed sponsorship on board, being able for easier transition of players to acquire and receive scholarships, also the greater emphasis providing that level of equity based on the resources for the female footballers, also understanding that within the system of the SSFL as it is concerned, that all schools be afforded the same level of resources. How they use the resources, it's up to them based on the technical expertise or personnel that they have. And being able to have greater equity, being able to deliver to the point where persons see the SSFL in greater esteem, in greater status, and understanding that we are all there for the student athletes to reap their rewards based on our efforts.
Marie Gonzalez, I want to thank you very much, and I wish you all the best as well. As I said, new cap, so wishing you all the best.
The situation we have here is that these characters, and I refer to them as pests, right? What they are doing is destroying our country, but not on my watch. No street, no turf, no block shall belong to these cockroaches, right? It's no longer business as usual. Happy hour is over. If they don't fear God, at least they will fear Terminix.
Have you considered how your methods could impact on pests across the country?
I find we look after the rights of pests as opposed to the rights of the 1.3 million law-abiding citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. I wonder if Roach Ladden's son come here for carnival, if you'll interview him, eh?
But how can you defend one shot, one kill?
What, you want me to throw a pillow at him?
I didn't say that.
No, well, if a roach jumps in front of you now, what will you do?
Run.
Oh, Jesus, Lord Father.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh, we wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension! 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 We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Amante Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amante Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages, from our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. Boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634
1653. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited. The best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
Yeah, so we're talking development and secondary schools football, and no better way to toss to Mr. Ansel Elcock as he presents our Coach's Corner.
Thanks, Joel. Today we're doing 2v1 defending. You want to make sure that you send the opponent as further as goal from your goal as possible as a defender, which still concentrating on the other attacker. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that the attacker do what exactly you want him to do, which is to push him also on his weaker foot and force him to go as far as possible line so that he can try to cross the ball, which your body should be in front of. Today we have Isaiah Lee and Johannes Richardson to demonstrate 2v1 defending. You want to open up, because if you stand flat-footed like that, he can pass me, but if the ball here, good. So I'm going to pass him the ball, and you trying to stop him from giving me back the ball, and you want him to go line, because if he go line there and shoot and score from that angle, it's either a great goal or the keeper make a mistake. But your idea, yes, stop him from coming down, from passing me back the ball. Right? And go. Good. And go. Get close to him now. Get close to him. Get close. Good. Right. Right? Do you see that pass? Don't let him pass that ball. Good. What you realize with him when he coming to you at the ball? No, not that. Every time he touch the ball, which foot he touches it with? Your right foot. Your right foot. So which means he want to cut back inside. So if you overcome it on this side, you're giving him two options. So Bennett here or to play me. So send him on his left foot. So actually, yeah, your starting position could be all here, right? So you see me here, right? But you're backing, you're backing, you're backing, you're backing. Where you're backing and you keep pushing him and getting closer to him. Good. Gain now. Get in. Gain. Good. Good. So wait until the ball leaves your foot for the opportunity as a defender to win the ball. Right? Because he must see what he will do. He will raise his head to see where his teammate at. Good. Nice. That was 2v1 defending. Back to you, Joel.
All right, that's going to do it for today, guys. Another Ascension football show. Hope you enjoy joining us here every weekend when we look up and down the football scene here on the Ascension Football.